Okay, so welcome to part 4. I had a job to do earlier, and it's been a few hours now. So here I am. Welcome to my boudoir, and I'm about ready to dive back into the really creepy massage that Regina was giving to Emma while she was telling her basically things that were almost hypnosis-y. So the last line was blah blah blah. And Regina just kept pulling, taking her pants down, 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 until they were being helped off her feet. Lying there in nothing but her panties, Emma felt like she was about to get a spanking. She expected Regina's hands any moment, but instead, a liquid swish as Regina got more oil. The anticipation physically pained her. Everything she felt was heightened, more powerful, more primal. She needed more of it. She needed more of her body to belong to Regina, being filled with pleasure that felt so secret, so her own. "Ooh," Emma cried out. Regina had touched her all right, but not with her hands. Okay. Her elbows and forearms were coming down on Emma's ass, massaging it roughly. "Too rough?" Regina sounded amused. "Fine, it's fine." "I know, I like it a little rough, too." Regina went lower, now brushing Emma's lower buttocks with the sides of her hands. Emma wondered if that was a technique, or if she just wanted to avoid using her open palms on what Emma's mama gave her. Yeah, buddy. She wished there was a way to tell Regina it was okay to touch her bathing suit area without being really creepy. No, Emma, it is really creepy. In fact, this entire scenario is really creepy. Her hands finally came to press down on the backs of Emma's thigh. It was an area that went untouched, and the sudden flurry of contact made Emma feel like kicking her little feet. Kicking her little feet! Okay. What, is she 2? I don't know. That actually makes it worse. Let's not go there. Regina's fingers, masterful and strong, dug into the flesh of Emma's legs. They prodded, they pulled, they rolled, they pinched. Emma's face seeped down into the cushion, so apparently she's melting now. The shock of Regina elbowing her butt completely evaporating. Finally, Regina came to Emma's feet. Her little feet, mind you. Oh, that's not written, I'm just saying. She didn't even bother to ask before she pulled Emma's shoes off, followed by her socks. That must have been fun getting her pants off over her shoes. Because I know that it's usually a challenge for me. For long minutes, she seemed to play with Emma's feet. She just seemed to play with Emma's feet. So, okay. Flexing and stretching Emma's toes, sliding her thumbs up the grooves between the bones, and then a seemingly endless succession of pleasant sensations that Emma couldn't even qualify. It was almost a surprise to feel herself getting aroused. Really? No, I don't think so. I don't think it would come as a surprise to any of us. It was almost a surprise to feel herself getting aroused, her suddenly hard nipples rubbing at the cushion under her with every breath. But then it was also the most natural thing in the world. Regina's hands moved upward, playing the receptive muscles of her calves like the keys of a piano, and Emma felt certain they could only be traveling to her sex. "I should have asked earlier," Regina said, her voice so soft Emma wouldn't have been surprised if it were coming from her own mind. "Are there any particular aches or pains in your body? Something you want me to massage? Something you need me to rub? Gee, I wonder what it could be." "Legs," Emma said. She felt like a ventriloquist dummy perched on Regina's lap, telling her exactly what she needed to hear, as those amazing hands glided over the backs of her knees. "My thighs." "Spread them." Emma did. She couldn't do anything else. After what seemed like an eternity, she felt Regina's fingers lightly fall on the insides of her thighs. Just the tips, because, it's all about just the tip. Just the tips, not any real pressure. They moved, just a little, and Emma knew she was being felt. Then they truly went into motion, moving in tiny circles, pulling Emma's flesh in a gentle orbit. Emma felt her breath, so relaxed and serene for the past few minutes, now start to quicken. "I can feel a lot of tension here. I may need to really grind down to get at." Yes, anything. The little circles Regina was making became wider and deeper, more of her fingers settling on Emma's flesh until her hands were dug between them. Emma's toes curled as the pleasure from Regina's touch reached them. Her hands shrunk into fists. The feeling was almost painful in its intensity, but she liked the pain. Oh, yes, you do, Emma. Breathe, Regina reminded Emma, gently. Her hands seemed to be flowing up Emma's thighs, getting higher with each tiny motion. Can't! Am I hurting you? Regina asked, her hands starting to slow. No! Perhaps the tension isn't there. Regina's hands moved away, but before Emma could protest, Regina touched her. There. It was just a brief contact, the back of her hand brushing against the crotch of Emma's panties. Regina had moved away before Emma had even reacted, as if she hadn't even noticed, and now her hands were back in the gentle slope between Emma's back and her ass. But Emma realized now that she was wet. Very wet. Here it is, Regina said, almost teasingly, as her fingers lightly brushed from the base of Emma's spine to the top of her ass. Yes, your sacrum has all sorts of pressure on it. My sacrum. It's a bone nestled at the base of the spine. From the Latin word sacred, divine. You know, as a person with sacrum problems, it really doesn't feel very divine most of the time. Just saying. Her fingers moved faster, and Emma felt the breath running away from her. Her eyes were open. She couldn't shut them. Off to the side, she could see a painting against the opposite wall. Nymphs and satyrs, frolicking through the woods, naked. Regina was oblivious, or pretending to be. Did you know the pudendal nerve originates in the sacrum? It innervates the genitals. Do you know what that means? I know what that means. Emma was trying hard not to come. So hard. Okay, wait. If she was trying hard not to come just from that, I don't know. She's not a dude. Maybe, well, I don't know. It takes me a little bit more than just, pushing on that. But, hey, I guess whatever gets you off. She was trying to think of a way to get Regina to stop. She didn't want her to. To excuse herself, she wanted to keep going, without admitting how turned on she was. She couldn't think, she couldn't breathe. She needed to come. She could only keep holding back her orgasm until this stopped feeling so good. That's not how that works, either. Shh, don't think too hard. That'd be missing the whole point. Yes, because she doesn't want you thinking, Emma. The pudendal nerve supplies the nerves to the genital, so it stimulates orgasm. That makes it a very powerful erogenous zone. Something to keep in mind the next thing you're with your boyfriend. What was his name again? There I go again, asking you to think. But why? What's there to think about when this feels so good? All you have to do is enjoy it. How could she be so close and not come? She had to come. But she was. She was on the verge of coming, and she couldn't stop. And she wouldn't stop. And Regina was watching her, would watch her come. It made Emma feel so dirty. She liked being dirty. She loved being dirty. Enjoy it. The simple phrase echoed in her head as if Regina had just whispered it in her ear. Maybe she had. Emma was past caring. Her climax literally exploded within her. So Emma is now a pile of something against the walls because she literally exploded. I don't think it was literally exploded, dude. That's not how that works. Something wet and hot escaped her, warming her on the way out, like electricity jumping through a circuit. She felt her panties become leaden and moist. Wow, she really squirted then, if they became leaden and moist. Her mouth falling open in a silent scream. It wasn't that she was able to hold back anything. It was just that not a sound would escape the black hole of pleasure that Regina had started within her. Everything fell into it. Every embarrassment, every taboo, every doubt. She came like never before, like it had never felt before. Wait, but, well, okay. I guess maybe she has pleasured herself, but it's like, I thought she was an 18-year-old virgin here just, a page or so ago. Regina had brought her hands back from Emma's overworked pleasure nerve, smiling at the flawlessness of it all. What luck that her arch-enemy's child had grown into such a lovely creature. Regina had enjoyed the orgasm almost as much as she had. I think I got the kink out, Regina said mildly. At the sound of her voice, Emma's eyes snapped open. Wait, when did she close them? I thought she couldn't close them here a minute ago. Inconsistencies, dude. Emma's eyes snapped open. She realized where she was. What had happened? Regina had given her a friendly massage, and she'd squirted all over the love seat. Wait, I thought it was a window seat. Come on, make up your mind. First it was a window seat, then it was a couch, then it was a window seat, now it's a love seat. Oh, God. Emma tried to move, and a little aftershock of pleasure went through her. Oh, God. Perhaps angry at not having been touched, her pussy was now a throbbing hunger, demanding a repeat performance. She'd had the back massage. What about the front? Is everything all right? Regina asked. She made her voice as sweet as sugar. You feel good, right? I have to go. I just remembered I have a date. I have to go. Emma's hands fluttered about, not sure which part of her to cover first. She suddenly remembered to do up her bra. I need to go right now. So sorry. Emma rolled off the window seat. Oh, now it's a window seat again. Grabbing her pants from the floor and pulling them on, not caring that they were backwards, and apparently not caring that she just came all over her underwear. I mean, okay. Her shirt was next, then her shoes, no time for socks. She popped up with Regina still standing over her, far too close for her sex to ignore. The urge to just grab her and rub together was overwhelming. Of course, I understand. Do you need a ride? Emma nearly fainted. No, I'll walk. I should walk. She ran out of the room, hoping Regina hadn't noticed the rapidly growing wet spot on the front, and then in parentheses back, of her pants. Oh, yeah, because they were backwards. Regina waited until Emma had left the room to laugh. I applaud her for that, because I would have been laughing hysterically the whole time. The girl had left her books behind. She'd be back. But then, even if Regina had put in a moat full of crocodiles, Emma would be back. Regina had seen to that. Men, women, you didn't just have a fuck like that and lay off. Well, she's confident at least. We'll give her that. I mean, but it's Regina, so... Keep in touch, she whispered after the departing teen, cracking her neck. A kink seemed to have gotten into it, so this kink is moving kinks. Her having been bent over Emma for the last hour. Well, maybe if she didn't try to give her a massage in the window seat / couch / love seat, she would have been better. Perhaps her own massage was in order. She'd have to call Ruby and undress. Oh, I'm sure she will, because, Ruby is there in her French maid outfit. And that was the end of the first chapter. So that's how long the first chapter was. I've done 4 segments now, which, well, technically 3 because the other one was short. So we're on to chapter 2. Strong and insistent hands pulled Emma close. Almost before she could feel their touch, warm lips were against her own, a tongue pushed into her mouth. It felt good, but so weird. The hands slid down to crush themselves against Emma's ass, pulling her further into their owner's reach. Her body was responding, but not in the right way. It felt like she was short-circuiting. This was wrong somehow. She tried to push the thought away. This couldn't be wrong. She touched back, her hands groping and massaging, not as forcefully as her lover, more experimentally. It all felt so different. But that was nonsense, right? What was she expecting? What else should Scott feel like? We should stop, Emma said, pulling away. She tried to catch her breath. It was far easier than when she'd left Regina's library the other day, wet panties rubbing against her every step on the way home. Well, that had to chafe. Scott's hands kept running over her like he was looking for something. Regina's had been so nice, so gentle, fitting to her body like they were molded for it. And Scott's were just rough, like they were made of sandpaper. I said stop. She gave him a shove, and he broke off, immediately pouting. You said we should stop. Girls always say that they should stop. How would you know? His hand under her shirt had jammed it up over her belly. She pulled it down, straightening it until the band logo on the front was unwrinkled. Going over to Scott's place had been meant to make her forget about Regina. Now all Emma could do was think about how perfect she was. If Regina were a guy... God damn. We really don't want Regina to be a guy, though, because, it's Regina. We've been going out for 4 months, Scott said, consciously trying to keep his voice from a whine, and I'm still on second base. I've gotten way too familiar with your tits, babe. Babe. Maybe you can go without them for a while, huh? Grabbing her jacket, thinking of how Scott had taken it off so clumsily when Regina had been so sly, just giving her a massage, Emma stomped her way to the door. She tried to make her boots loud enough for Scott's parents, off at a book club meeting, to hear her. She stopped in her car to update her Facebook... Oh, of course! She stopped in her car to update her Facebook status, like you do. Well, I guess she's an 18-year-old girl. Scott didn't come after her to apologize. Why do boys think that they have a backstage pass just because they bought a ticket? She considered changing her relationship status to "it's complicated," but didn't. It wasn't complicated at all. Regina, reading Emma's Facebook from her laptop, decided to change it for her. That brings up so many questions that, again, I don't really want to unpack right now. Just, okay. Next section. Going to the movies with Ruby had nothing to do with Regina. Emma told herself that until she half believed it. It was just that they were sort of co-workers now. Co-workers spent time together after work. Ruby had asked if she wanted to go out, her treat, so free movie. It had nothing to do with Ruby being Regina's friend, student, confidant. Emma had no interest in how they had gotten so close or how close they really were. None whatsoever. Methinks the lady doth protest too much. The cinema was about the only cool thing about Storybrooke. It was an old-fashioned movie house with a triangular marquee above the door, and one guy with a hat in a booth selling tickets and popcorn that was popped in a cart and sold in cartons instead of by the tub. Totally vintage. It didn't show movies in 3D, but nobody liked 3D anyway. True facts. I don't know about you, but I've been waiting for, forever to see Snow White and the Huntsman Part 2, The Evil King. Ruby babbled, looking stunning as usual in Daisy Dukes and a silk print shirt with a grand total of 2 buttons done up, right where the male population would most like them undone, says the author. The first one just left me with so many questions. Does she end up with Prince Charmant or the Huntsman? Probably the Huntsman. His name's in the title, Emma speculated. She wore jeans with the knees worn out and a similarly holey tee under her well-loved/battered leather jacket. I looked like Ruby's bodyguard. They paid the box office dude, who gave them the senior rate because Ruby was so willing to demonstrate she wasn't a senior. Tickets in... Oh my. Okay. Tickets in hand, they got popcorn, Coke, and milk duds so expensive, Emma wouldn't be surprised to find cocaine inside the box. Oh, that would make a different type of movie date. Then it was just waiting in line to get their tickets torn. The guy behind the podium was trying to decide if 3 acne cases were old enough to see Final Destination's Skull Dump, so it was going to be a long line. Are you a big K-Stew fan? Ruby asked. Nah, she's a bit slutty for my taste. She says to Ruby, who dresses in the slutty French maid outfit. Hey, that director thing was not her fault. He was a director. It's not even that. It's the Arpats thing, too. I mean, what kind of hoe has sex with a co-star? Her phone buzzed. Emma checked it and groaned. It's my mom. I'm going to text her a picture of you just so she knows I'm not being penetrated. Smile. Ruby struck a lap dance pose on a nearby standee of Tom Hanks on a bench, advertising the 3D release of Forrest Gump. I don't think there is a 3D release of Forrest Gump. If so, I apologize to any Forrest Gump fans out there. Emma wasn't sure it would convince Mary Margaret of anything. Finally, they made it past the velvet rope and to their seats. Fortunately, it was a Kristen Stewart movie that didn't have Edward Cullen, so the theater wasn't at all crowded. Go figure. They got there just in time for millionaires to tell them how much the Will Rogers Institute needed working-class charity. Ruby sent one last text and turned her phone off. Emma did as well, vindictively thinking that there was no way her mom could resent her not answering her phone in the middle of a movie. The previews came on. New Tron movie. What hacks were doing that? Ah, dig it, Adam and Eddie. New Wolverine movie. Even in the trailer, he had his shirt off, so Emma's ticket was bought. New Spider-Man movie. Ruby would make a better Mary Jane than whoever they'd hired. They were even making another Alice in Wonderland movie. Good God, what kind of loser wanted to watch a purportedly sexy Mad Hatter prance around a green screen for 2 hours? Where was the whole dark fairy tale thing going to end anyways? Porn? Someone moaned. So I guess it was porn. Amen, bro, Emma thought. Then he groaned, which seemed a bit much for the trailer to Monsters, Inc. 2. Sure, it was an incredible sequel, but what was? Is it just me, or is someone having a heart attack? Emma asked Ruby. No, just a hand job. A what? You know, right? Handsies? What are we, 12? Who gets a handy during the trailers? Those are the best part. That last annoying turn off your cell phone retard message played, and the movie started. Thor told them how, shockingly, everything wasn't beer and roses after Kristen Stewart was put in charge. Oh, hell yeah. Rosie Palms' date muttered. Was he going to get tugged on through the whole movie? Wouldn't there be chafing? See, that's what I asked him after her panty walk with the wet pants. Anyways, Ruby read her mind. That is taking a while. Isn't she throwing in some ball action? Why don't you go ask? Fuck, Mr. Beaten Meat finally gasped. He almost sounded like Scott? Emma turned around and saw him there, just 4 rows back, revealed in the bright lake of a Kristen Stewart close-up, and the woman sitting next to him. Mommy? Of course it wasn't, just someone who looked like Mary Margaret. Wow! Someone who looked like Mary Margaret might have in the 90s. She didn't even have short hair. But it was just the kind of surreal detail you'd find in a nightmare. Emma, this isn't what it looks like. Oh, she's just eating yogurt as a finger food. Yum, that's a mental image. Thanks for that, jerk. I don't even know her. She just sat next to me on the bus this morning and she was all over me. The girl wiped her hand on Scott's shirt. Ew. This your prude girlfriend? Emma didn't know where to begin with that, so she skipped to the end. I'm not his girlfriend. She ran out. After a dumbfounded moment, Scott put his arm around the girl. So where were we? Scott, you're a jerk. Oh. She brushed his arm away, though, like it was a spider web she'd walked through. Bored. Effortlessly untangling herself from Scott, the girl left the theater before Kristen Stewart could bite her lip anymore. Well, that could be the entire film. She went directly to the restroom, where she scrupulously washed her hands clean. Only then did she take off the thimble she'd acquired, returning to her natural form. It had been such a relief to find this world had magic of its own, meager as it was. Adjusting the clothes that had rumpled during her stint as a teenage girl, she left the restroom. Oh, hey there. I didn't know you were seeing a movie tonight, one of the ushers greeted her. She held up her ticket. I hope you don't think I would sneak in, Mr. Skeen. I am the mayor, after all. Dun dun dun. Although, even for Regina, that had to be kind of, I don't know. That seems really, really skeevy. Like jerking off Emma's now ex-boyfriend in the theater just to make her mad? I mean, yeah. Anyways, next section. Emma ran all the way to Regina's house. Because of course she would. She got there with her lungs burning and her legs made of molten lead, but she felt like she could keep running forever. Out of this goddamn town, away from crappy boyfriends and crappy mothers, oxygen flooded into her body the moment she stopped. She felt lightheaded. Not a runaway now. Now she might just float away, if it weren't for the thought of Regina tethering her. Oh, you wish she'd tether you. She probably will, soon. Emma knocked at the door, but no one answered. Regina had to be there. Her car was in the driveway, engine still warm. Emma wanted to pound on the door, knock it down, throw herself through a window into the safe place. Oh, Emma, it is so not a safe place. But what if someone else heard? Emma couldn't survive breaking down the front front perch where the world could see, and she knew she would. She could feel the tears burning in her eyes already. She tried the door in desperation. It swung open freely. Emma nearly fell inside, like she fell through that bush here a little while ago. She managed to close the door behind her, like the good little girl that Mary Margaret raised. Just being inside the manor was comforting. Everything was so stylish and sophisticated, light years beyond small-town boys getting jacked off in movie theaters. "Regina," she called. Her voice echoed back to her, all cracks and heartbreak. Aww. From then on, she kept silent as she wandered the halls. How big is this house? Because I know, Mifflin Street that mansion had to be fairly good size, but it wasn't like a castle. So, this place has to be, if she's got wings and room for 500 books. But, she's been wandering the halls, apparently. The last room she checked was the bedroom. Wait, the bedroom? There has to be more than one bedroom in this house that has bunches of hallways. Regina wasn't in any of the others. Emma half expected to find Regina in there with a man, someone as charming and beautiful as her. It was that kind of day. Well, you could join in if that happened. She tried the door. It swung open as easily as everything was with Regina. You're saying the mayor is easy, apparently. The mayor was inside, in bed, propped up... Wait, if she was in bed, propped up on pillows and reading a book, why was the engine of her car still warm? Emma, you gotta think of these things. Put the pieces together. She was in bed, propped up on the pillows and reading a book. She even had a fashionable pair of glasses on. And all that hid her from Emma was a flimsy nightgown. So she works real fast. Emma? Regina laid her book face down beside her. What are you doing here? Is something wrong? That was all Emma could take. She was crying and sobbing and cursing, all the words Mary Margaret would watch her mouth out for saying, and all she could hear through her own grief was Regina's voice. Emma, come here. Come here. Like a master ordering around a dog, expecting to be obeyed. Emma felt her legs carrying her to Regina, betraying her to the mayor, and she madly thought Regina would slap her or hit her for her foolishness because she was foolish, a foolish little girl, thinking Scott loved her, thinking Regina could love her. I would smack her. She could come over here. I'll do it for free. She braced herself, but Regina opened her arms. Like a ship caught in a whirlpool, Emma was sucked down. Oh, yeah, I don't think she was sucked down. She felt herself hit Regina's impenetrable exterior and be embedded in it, given all the protection of it, strong arms wrapping around her and holding her tight, and we've now entered a romance novel. Okay. Because everything's so overwrought. Everything was the softness of Regina's gown and the warmth of her skin. What's wrong? Regina asked, whispering so no one else could hear. There's no one else there! Well, okay, maybe there is, and we don't know about it, but I thought there was nobody else in any of the rest of the rooms. Oh, yeah, so I guess he covered that. What's wrong? Regina asked, whispering so no one else could hear, even though they were alone. So then why did she bother whispering? Only the shadow knows. Emma told her the whole lurid story, even as it ran together in her mind. As she was gently rocked, she told Regina about what had happened in the theater, and she stayed in Regina's arms, slowly getting comfortable, pulling her arms and legs onto the bed, her body into Regina's lap. Telling Regina how she'd met Scott, how they'd gone on their first date, how she thought he'd be her first. He wasn't, was he? Regina asked as she gave Emma a little squeeze in her embrace, letting her know it would be all right either way. No, he wanted to, but it just didn't feel right. Good. Regina unwound an arm from Emma's back over the teen's fervent and silent protest, but it was only to bring her hand to Emma's hair, gently running her fingers through it. It will feel right someday, but your first time is a special experience, meant to be shared with someone who sees the specialness in you. You're a precious gem, Emma, as beautiful as you are rare. It wouldn't be hard for you to find someone who truly values you. It will just take patience. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like no one even sees me. I see you, Emma. Regina twisted a lock of golden hair around her finger, lightening the mood somehow. Do you know what's happening to your body right now? That's not a strange question at all. My heart's breaking in two? Regina lowered her voice sympathetically. Besides that, she rubbed her hand between Emma's shoulder blades. Right now, your brain isn't releasing enough serotonin. There's too much stress in your body right now for it to keep up. Not without help. You mean vodka? No, I don't mean vodka. You see, just being held by me, being touched by me, is releasing beta endorphins, reversing all that. And you'll feel even better after a good night's sleep, when your brain has time to normalize. So I want you to lie here, close your eyes, and try to get some sleep. Is this Regina, or is this like WebMD talking to her? Because it seems like the latter, not the former. And you'll keep touching me? Emma asked. All of a sudden, she felt so tired that it took her a moment to realize what she'd said. If you like, or should I stop? The door flew open, and Emma bolted upright, grabbing the bedsheet to cover herself, even though she was fully clothed. But it was just Ruby stampeding in. Emma, there you are. I've been looking for you everywhere. You ran out of the theater so messed up, I thought you might do something dumb. Well, you know, when does she not do something dumb? Emma dropped the sheet. I'm not going to commit suicide over Scott. I'm not going to commit suicide over Scott Blue, Ruby. Wait, wasn't his name Scott Willow? Why is it now Scott Blue? Did he have a name change? Is it a different Scott? What happened? Anyway, I was thinking more along the lines of vehicular homicide. Ruby, Regina said calmly, smoothing Emma's hair like they were absolutely alone. Emma isn't feeling well. I'd like you to brew some of my good tea and bring it here, as opposed to the bad tea, or maybe the mediocre tea. I am curious as to what her good tea is. I like a good Earl Grey myself. Sure thing. You hang in there, Emma. Don't worry about a thing. We'll take good care of you. Ruby left. The door swayed almost to a close behind her. With her gone, Regina traced Emma's hair down her back, which she felt right through Emma's jacket. Would you like to take that off? Get comfortable. Emma consented before remembering what had happened the last time she undressed for Regina. She hesitated, one arm out of its sleeve. Regina just smiled. She exerted a gentle hold on the jacket's battered leather and tugged until it was off. Compared to the jacket's heft, wearing just her t-shirt was like having nothing on at all. The look on Regina's face seemed to see right through it as well. Under that gaze, Emma lowered herself back to rest on Regina's body. Regina's hands pressed flat, possessive, along Emma's spine. Emma grew used to the weight of them in only a second. Then they moved up and down, rolling over Emma's back like the tide. Even with Ruby in the house, Regina's touch was more daring, more intense. Or maybe it was because Ruby was there. Predators outnumbering her, cornering her, hungry for her flesh. Okay. You're a very trusting soul, Regina whispered, her breath barely stirring Emma's hair. Falling asleep in a stranger's bed? You're not a stranger. Aren't I? No, you're like my best friend. Please, I'm old, virtually decrepit. You must have friends your own age. Please, Emma mimicked. If I asked them to get into bed with me and rub me down, they'd call me a dyke. And what's so bad about being a dyke? I don't know. I've never tired it. I think she means I've never tried it. Regina gave Emma a little pat and reached for the bedspread, pulled back alongside them. Here, under the covers. She drew the sheet over them both. It helped. Emma felt less exposed, cuddled up with Regina, snug as a bug in a rug. Underneath the covers, Regina's hands were as subtle as shadows. Emma couldn't hear or see them. Well, of course not. They're under the covers. She just felt them on the back of her neck now, leisurely stroking from her throat to her shoulders. Wait, if they're on the back of her neck, your throat is on the front of your neck. So, is she like going... Okay, never mind. That'll take too much time to figure out. Stroking from her throat to her shoulders like Regina had all the time in the world to explore. When they met in the middle, at the nape of Emma's neck, it felt like her head was being tilted toward a kiss that never came. "What about your mother?" Regina asked considerately. Surely she'd come as a comfort. "I don't think I can even look at Mary Margaret right now without thinking of that slut. They could have been twins. And if I told her, she'd probably tell me it's proof I'm too young to date. Mothers never notice how mature their daughters are. I'm sure you're old enough for many things Mary Margaret wouldn't approve of. Because you're being groomed by an adult who wants to have sex with a teenager." "Yeah, want to smoke some pot?" Emma joked. "One thing at a time, dear." As gently as she would handle the Dead Sea Scrolls, Regina rolled Emma's shirt up from her waist. With about an inch of untanned skin exposed, one hand continued the work and the other skated over Emma's lower back, skin against skin. Emma felt her shirt rise higher, cool air meeting her flesh. With the added room, Regina now dug her fingernails into the small of Emma's back and raked them down to just above Emma's ass. It felt exquisite. Maybe Scott was too young for me, Emma thought out loud. I need someone more mature, experienced. Perhaps. The back of Emma's shirt was now being held back by the front, still plastered across her belly button. Regina took it in both hands and tugged insistently. With just that little prompting, Emma lifted herself off of Regina, just enough for her shirt to travel. Their eyes met. My first time wasn't his first time, and it was marvelous. Okay. "His," Emma said, holding herself over Regina even as the shirt reached her armpits, hanging around her neck like a life preserver. "And the first time I made love to a woman, she wasn't very knowledgeable either, but I knew what I wanted from her." Regina kept her hold on Emma's shirt, now pulling it down like a set of reins, bringing Emma back against her body. And got it. Okay. It took Emma opening her mouth to speak to realize she was breathing faster than usual. Settling back against Regina's body, she felt Regina's heart beating with the same harmony. And she had fun? Of course she did, Regina replied, amused. Just look at me. Well, I mean, she's not humble, but she's not wrong. Regina's hand came to Emma's cheek. It was shockingly intimate, the touch, even during the massage. Regina had never gotten so close to her lips. Well, I mean, she got close to her other lips. I'm just saying. Emma lay still while Regina's fingers, sly and insinuating, ran over her cheekbones. "I'm almost as beautiful as you," Regina said. Oh, come on now. "I'm almost as beautiful as you," Regina said. Emma would have protested, would have said no one was as beautiful as the mayor, but the fingers touched her lips. They breezed over them like a breath of air, stopped in the middle, as if seeking admittance, but Emma was too stunned to even breathe. And the fingers descended off her chin, down her long, smooth neck. Turning her sideways now, her hand moved in circles on Emma's sternum, just shy of Emma's breasts, almost returning to her lips. Emma shivered with excitement. She fought to keep her voice steady. "You're bike-sexual?" She likes bikes, I guess. I don't like bikes that much, but okay. Regina laughed warmly. Her hand dropped down to Emma's belly, brushing it with her knuckles, almost tickling the girl. "I prefer to think of myself as open-minded." "I can't believe you told me that. This isn't college." Dun dun dun! "People would care." "I trust you," Regina said, raising her hand again. She ran the side of her finger under Emma's bra, her fingernail making a soft noise against the material. "We have something in common." Emma was about to ask what that was when Ruby burst back in, a tea tray in hand. "Order up," she said, settling on the nightstand. She poured into 2 cups. "And if you give a minute, I could even put on my waitressing clothes." Regina smirked. "Or take a pair of scissors to the clothes you have on now." For some reason that sent a jolt through Ruby's body. She swung the teapot around too fast and knocked a teacup off the tray and off the nightstand, down to shatter on the floor. "Oh, Mayor Mills, your china. I'm so sorry." "That's all right," Regina said, her finger following Emma's bra like a cat with a string. She circled around Emma's side, and for some reason the skin there was so damn sensitive. Emma felt herself hotly blushing, but maybe Ruby just thought it was from crying earlier. Yes, I'm sure she thinks it's from crying earlier with Regina's hands all up in your bra. Regina was undressing her right in front of her BFF, and she was letting it happen. Maybe they both were. Maybe all three of them. "Your punishment can wait till later," Regina teased, voice lilting. Emma actually laughed as she felt Regina's fingers slide under her bra hook. "It's getting late." Regina took a cup of steaming tea, her other hand steadily batting at the hook, pulling it away from Emma's skin and letting it bounce back, still connected, over and over again. "And someone here doesn't have a car. Ruby, call your grandmother and tell her you're staying over. Then phone Mary Margaret and tell her Emma's having a sleepover with you." Ruby glanced around like she was looking for Granny and a lecture. "You want me to lie to Emma's mom?" "No, you're telling the truth, just leaving out the location. We've been nice all week. We deserve a girls' night." "It's okay," Emma said. "She's right," supporting Regina as the woman pinched either side of her bra hook together, exposing the eyelets and hooks, ready to rip it away. "A reward?" "Okay," Ruby nodded, backing out of the room. "I'll be right back to clean up the mess. Don't get out of bed." "We won't," Regina assured her, smiling confidently with Emma. She took her hand away, leaving Emma with her bra strap fully intact, snug against her suddenly itchy back. It made her just bite her lip, wanting something else. "Here!" Her voice startled Emma out of her reverie. Regina had picked up the teacup and was now holding it under Emma's nose. The scent was strong, but not overpowering. More like a bouquet of fresh flowers in a vase on the other side of the room. And that's where I'm going to pause because this video has gotten a little bit long. So we will rejoin them drinking tea in the next video. I bet you can't wait.